Welcome to this week's Renaissance Man podcast. And I can't wait to write a column on my next guest. This week's episode is titled All Black Everything. My next guest is one of Hollywood's hottest stylists. She's worked with some of the biggest names in music, film, and fashion. And she's the founder of Black Owned Everything, a business platform for Black-owned businesses. Please welcome Zerina Akers to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. You're currently the personal stylist and fashion curator for Beyoncé, Ava DuVernay, Chloe and Holly. The list goes on, but you had to start somewhere. What was your first job in fashion?
My first job in fashion, and I'm definitely the stylist for Beyoncé and Chloe and Halle. Ava DuVernay is with someone else now, but we've worked together before. My first job in fashion probably started like hustling. You know, I was working at a retail store. It was a store called Aja Imani. I used to work at different stores in the mall. You know, so I really started from the bottom, so to speak, and learn working in retail and hustling and working my way up. And then eventually, once I went to college, I got my first internship at W Magazine, and that kind of started things from there.
When did you know that you love fashion so much that, as you mentioned, you would hustle, you would be in the street, you would do whatever job that it took in order to try to chase your dream?
I would say I was in high school. I mean, from a very young age, I was interested in fashion. Like I would get, the Easter dress and I would want to wear it every day to the playground and and my family would have to hide it from me, and things like that. But I would say in high school, I started actually experimenting more with design. And though I was studying TV production at the time, I wanted to, really pursue it as a career and learn more and more about it. First off, going into school, I thought I wanted to be a designer. I mean, that's all you really know, right? Okay, fashion, clothes, make clothes. We weren't really privy to all the information of what goes into making a magazine, what are all those different roles and titles. And so once I went to school and I started to learn garment construction, I realized it wasn't really for me. And then I flipped and started studying marketing and merchandising and things like that. And then once I got into interning at W, then I was able to see oh, okay, these are all the people that it takes to actually create something like this. And these are all of these different opportunities and positions, that can be filled.
How about the opportunity to use fashion as a form of expression, as a form of confidence, as a form to show people your personality through how you dress?
That definitely started or kind of more so, I guess, kind of took over more in high school, because I went to an all Black high school and it was about what you had on, right? So it was okay, did you have the latest Jordans? Did you have, but I took it a step further and started making my own things but utilizing how I dressed and brands and as a power, as a form of power, and holding weight and commanding respect, in the space, because you'll get eaten alive in some of these places. So I definitely started to then use it as a way to gain just respect amongst my peers, you know what I mean, above all.
I did that as well. I'm from the northwest side of Detroit, and I remember having patches in my pants or shoes too small or whatever, but I kept them clean. I'm gonna put some thick shoestrings in them. I'm gonna do something.
But remember, it was things out of necessity that then we made into trends, or things that you didn't know. That kid is they're wearing 2 pairs of slouch socks because their shoes are too big. And then all of a sudden we're wearing
folded under.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. That was hilarious. I remember those days. Where does your love from fashion come from? And who was the most stylish person you knew growing up?
My love of fashion, I would say, came from, I mean, I watched a lot of TV, grew up on like shows like Living Single and,
Hmm.
movies like, Set It Off and things like that. I was always a huge
Classic.
fan of Queen Latifah as a young
Hmm.
girl. And but it really came from my aunties, like it really came from them and like getting their hand-me-downs,
Hmm.
can't wait. Like was used to have my eye on it, like couldn't wait till it's my turn. I mean, so I definitely say it came from them and my aunt Zerina and my aunt Detra, them like, being experimental, having their fly like Louis bags and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
and then allowing us to play, and
Hmm.
to kind of try our own ways in the space. My little sister, she's more of a tomboy. She's more like
Hmm.
a so she got into the shoes and like all the Jordans, and now she's customizing and painting her own shoes, Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So like that support, really allowed us to like, think outside the box, when it came to like how we dress and stuff.
absolutely. And when you style a person for a long time, I'm sure to a certain extent, you see them grow as people. Does that ever come into play when you think about wardrobe?
For sure. Like I mean, in terms of, styling and costuming, like I've always been interested in like that development process, whether it be starting with young artists and developing their style as they release album after album, and as
Mhm.
they grow into women, or like just developing characters and like how characters move through space and and as they grow and deal with certain hardship, what that kind of translates into with their wardrobe and what's communicated with wardrobe without even having to say, that someone's like wealthy or that a woman is, the boss in the room.
Mhm.
There's so many ways to say it without, them having to open their mouth. And that's always like intrigued me.
Because you are the creme de la creme to all of the superstars in Hollywood, and I want to congratulate you, sister.
Thank you.
A lot of times people think you're spending top dollar on everything that we have to wear. And that could be jewelry versus costume, that could be design. Can you talk to the audience about budget shopping and or some of the things that you rock or do that are inexpensive that people can start to incorporate?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been like working with kind of like high profile clients. It's always been um like I guess a knack of mine to like bring in different brands because you're dealing with celebrities, so like everyone has access to like a lot of the same stuff, so you never know when like it's going to be who wore it best or this that and the third while everything's in the store. Like okay, we all love expensive things, cool, but to be able to tap into some of the younger talent, some of the more independent designers, it's just cooler, it lasts longer. You don't have to be rushing to wear it first necessarily. And you're kind of also doing a good deed. And it's the way it's opened doors for so many of these brands. Like you have no idea. Like there was one brand I used, I dressed a client in, Sarah Dior. She does brand Tangoro. She's out of
Mhm.
Senegal. And she said that once this person wore her outfit, I think maybe she wore 2 outfits in a year or so,
Mhm.
that her brand shifted so much. She went from employing 7 people to employing 50 people.
Wow.
And that
That's
alone, like
crazy.
just imagining like how many families are then, are eating off of this one company. It's like, it's insane. And it's so much more powerful to like use these brands that are just really creating cool things. They're not following the rules of commercial fashion and seasons and what's in and what's out and the rules of a house, and because all that stuff ends up being like much more limiting than you would actually think. There's so much red tape around it. They're
Mhm.
just having fun and making new stuff, so it's like it really like brings a certain benefit where you get to support a small business, whether it be Black or otherwise, and young artistry. But then you just kind of, you get to actually wear like some cool hip stuff, and it's not necessarily like, everything's kind of beaten down and worn out, you get to like really explore some new silhouettes and stuff like that. So it's
Well, one
important.
of the all-time great artists, Jay-Z, basically coined all Black everything in a verse.
Mhm.
You get a chance to style and work with Queen B, Beyoncé. What is that like? And can you describe like a process of getting her ready for an event?
I mean, it's definitely an honor to work and contribute to a platform that's so great, it'll outlive most of us. Um, but again, when it comes to like styling and wearing, whether it's be high-end brands, I've always appreciated that she, never really cared if something was like super expensive or not, and always wanted to support, more independent brands and more independent designers, and like mixing high and low. So it's really cool when like a lot of the, like a lot of her fans and stuff, they see when she's wearing something, they're like, oh, okay, this thing is only like $150. Like I can get that too, so that's always been like a cool factor. But, in generally speaking, in terms of like getting ready, it's always like a collaborative effort, in dressing anybody, it's really not about so much about like me doing, but like really working to bring out their best. And then, and sometimes that's like, them pushing you and you pushing back. And like really it's kind of like a little bit of like a tug of war of making sure they have what they need to feel comfortable, but then really make, also seeing to it that you're kind of pushing them to like try new things and, yeah.
Being a stylist plus having flavor yourself, how does the process differ when it comes to styling clients versus styling yourself?
It's very different because I feel like I'm always like, well, I did it myself. Like I know what I like. I've been much more experimental now in these days as I'm like getting older. I'm just like, whatever, I could like show my body more. I could like, wear this thing and like, why not? But when it comes to dressing other people, especially celebrities, I think it's always, I always have to be aware of the fact that I'm not gonna have to bear whatever that cross is, So if I put them in something that maybe has an interesting saying across the t-shirt or whatever it is, they're gonna get scrutinized and judged so much more heavily. And I'm not gonna have to necessarily be the one to deal with it or to face it or to like be, having all these comments about me online or, so
Right,
it's always, I
right.
always like to be aware, and really kind of go through and with a fine tooth comb, and like the details of things and, just to kind of make sure at the end of the day, like it's one thing getting dressed, then whatever, stepping out. And then now it's the whole backlash and like the internet's
Mhm.
response as well to what you're wearing, which is like a lot of pressure,
It
so I
is.
try to
And
like
it's
keep
the
it.
response to the response to the responses. It's like you
Exactly.
feel like you love your outfit, and then all of a sudden, if people tell you they don't like it, you have to decide, is it my outfit or me or them?
Right, exactly. It's like it's moments when like the person really feels confident and comfortable and happy, and they walk out and then maybe it's a bad photo or maybe, whatever, the hair wasn't right or something, you never know. And then it just turned into a whole other monster. So I always try to be aware of that kind of stuff.
I have a photo for you. I was actually, if you don't mind checking it out in the chat,
Hmm.
let's just say I was going to the Rock Nation brunch. That was the picture of me going before. You see Jay, you see Diddy. I'm a part of the Rock family, as I mentioned. Say I'm going to the Rock brunch and you're styling me. What am I wearing?
Um, you are wearing probably a gorgeous like espresso double breast suit, um
Mm,
and maybe it's by Black designer Ferrer. Actually, I think that's the suit that Jay-Z's wearing. It's by Ferrer. That's Guy Davidson Ferrer. He's actually a friend of mine. He makes gorgeous suiting, and he's coming out with this like beautiful like brown mocha colored print. So I'd probably do like utilize that print with a nice chocolate pant and a double breast jacket.
That's fly. Yeah. And the one thing about the double breasted, I just got to make sure I'm in the gym, because you got to get in the gym for when you're a guy and you're rocking them double breasted.
Yeah,
that thing can hug you.
You can't have them pulling, right?
Yeah, that thing can have you. That thing could be hugging for sure.
I love it on men, but I always stay away from it for women, because those 4 buttons in the center of your body makes you look so wide.
Yes, it can make you look bulky. That's why I say you got to be in that gym. You got to cut down them fried foods and that bread before you throw that double breasted on.
That's so funny.
And as I mentioned, and I really appreciate you taking the time before I let you get out of here. And as I mentioned, you are the founder of Black Owned Everything, a medium for curating meaningful and long-lasting participation for Black-owned businesses in global commerce, with a focus on fashion, beauty, design, and lifestyle brands. Why is it so important for people, all people, to support Black businesses? And what's your goal for Black-owned everything?
I think after like summer 2020, there was definitely a light shined on our creators, because there was a lot of people calling out different corporations about, their lack of participation in the community, their lack of effort. And I realized like very quickly, like, okay, but if we took a percentage of that energy and turned it back in on our people, like it would go so much further. I think just giving independent brands in general, but specifically Black people, because we've been so underserved and from like our school system, just like systematically, most people generally, even privileged Black people, are still limited in what they're actually learning about the economy, and still limited in what they're learning in schools about credit and things like that.
Yes.
So giving these brands the opportunity to actually grow and expand, places the power back in their hands to then support their families in a way without having to lean on corporations, without having to necessarily get a 9-to-5. Because a lot of these women and men, are able to really grow and sustain. But so I think like the way, once I started and launched Black on Everything, I wanted to make it easier for the consumer to find these Black owned brands. So there are no excuses. You can come to this site, you can explore different brands. And it's been definitely an uphill battle to get it to like work. So we're probably going to take some time this year and like really develop it a lot further. But just overall, that's why it's important. I've also launched the Acres and Acres Foundation to help educate some of these business owners on like what to do. Like, okay, you've got this burst of support, or you have a really great product. Now, how are you reinvesting that in a way that can like scale the business and teach, and teach these brands and these creators how to, really develop a totally like sustainable business and company, and it's functioning. And, because a lot of these kids, they really just didn't know what to do. So like they were getting opportunities to like be in Nordstrom's or be in Macy's, but their business structure is not necessarily in place, or maybe they don't even have their company formed, correctly. So we're kind of wanting to do some work like that on the back end as well. But overall, just like continuing to like promote what we're doing, because like we literally, you could go from the top to the bottom and everything can be Black owned, which was like astounding to me when I first started to like find these brands and like start posting them. It was like, Mims Motors, like a Black owned car out of Detroit, manufactured in Detroit. Like Eric Mims is like killing it. Technology that like rivals Tesla, and like champagne glasses and wine glasses. It's like so many different things, so it's like, it's try to keep it going and really contribute to it not being, just a trend or just a phase or something of the moment. Yeah.
It's so refreshing to hear your entrepreneurial spirit, your intellect, and your willingness to give back and to uplift our people. And that's the kind of motivation that I had when I became the founder of my charter high school and in my hometown. And Killer Mike was on this show, and we had that same conversation about investing in the black dollar. And he was talking about spending a weekend trying to buy all black everything. And then he realized, like, wait a minute, I can't really rent a car or a bus or whatever, or a hotel. Like, it was a lot tougher than he realized. And I'm glad you opened my eyes up to this conversation and to the audience, because I think it's important for us to continue to do that. Have that day, have that week, have that month where we're going to invest in us.
Right.
It's so very refreshing when that happens. And it also is a game changer in the community.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just simple things like changing your basics, you know, like I got homegirls that do seasonings, regular seasons, you know, whatever, their own combinations and things like that, like the Spice Suite or like Chef Curlardie, to, you know, people that are doing laundry detergent. It's just like switching your basics and trying new things, your dishwashing liquid, you know, and things like that, are very simple ways to like just kind of implement it in your home and like start kind of, you know, making a shift, you know, to make a real change. Yeah, okay, like shoes, bags, clothes, obviously, but like what are those very basic things that you know you use, excuse me, your honey, you know, your incense, you know, like all that kind of stuff, and replacing those things that you buy on a regular as well.
Well, thank you for giving us what I consider a parking spot to find those items. I'm definitely going to be supporting. What's your favorite award show memory?
My favorite award show memory. Well, I guess I gotta say Grammys 2021. That was a historic one. So that was and it was unexpected to like, you know, be a part of that kind of, you know, epic moment, you know. So I'd say that.
Describe for us what the moment was like. Who was you with? What was you doing?
mean,
What were you wearing?
like,
what were they wearing? Where were y'all at?
It was
It's a pandemic. We've been at home wearing masks. You didn't get a chance to enjoy the Grammys.
I know. It was you know, Beyoncé took home her like her 28th win. Yeah, which was a historic one, which she then became the most awarded woman, you know, within the number of Grammys. So that was like, yeah, pretty iconic. Because I dressed her in like this like Schiaparelli look, and then we did this like Burberry shiny metallic look afterwards. But it was one of those things like all of a sudden I like had a credential and like we were going. I don't think I thought in like a million years we were actually gonna like go and do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's happening. Yeah.
That's dope. So before I let you get out of here, I have a couple of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
That I like to call Gone in 60 Seconds.
Okay. All right. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Which celebrity has the best street style?
Rihanna.
What's a good rule of thumb when it comes to shopping?
Buy what works for you.
If you could retire one fashion trend, what would it be?
Crap.
Y'all listening now. Y'all remember when Jay said, no more auto tunes, we stopped doing it. So y'all listening right now. Y'all hearing it y'all hearing it up close and personal. What's your favorite decade for style?
The 70s.
Mine too. I was born in the 70s, 73. And last but not least, name one person you haven't worked with yet that you'd be honored to style.
Queen Latifah.
I love the Queen as well. I'm going to have her on this show. I used to go to their barbecues back in the day. East Orange. I got Naughty by Nature, Trench, Ben, Naughty. Those my guys.
I
appreciate you joining the show.
Met her, but I've always loved her since I was a little girl.
Queen is awesome, and so are you. It was very gracious of you to take your time to join the Renaissance Man podcast. I'm going to also write a column about this in the New York Post and send you a framed copy of it.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a small token of my appreciation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.